Super Mario Bros. 3. This iconic game is storming our Nintendo here in the US in 1990. After the success of Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 2, it was only a matter of time before we got raced for the third title. This title was more than anything we could have imagined. We're not here today to really talk about it and how great it was, because we all know it was. We're here to speak more about my favorite Game Genie code for this game. Let's get right to it. Before I get to the code, let me just say, I'm not emulating this. It might do the same thing in emulation, but I have the system, the games, and Game Genie, so let's try it out. Oh, you heard games. Well, yes, I have the Japanese release of Super Mario Bros. 3 as well. I'm not sure if the same codes are compatible here with the Japanese version, but I'd really like to try it out. For this, I'm going to use the adapter out of one of my Gyromite games. The chip on it should be facing up, as shown here, but the Japanese cart should be facing labeled down. Well, another reason why I would like to do this on original hardware is so that I can be sure that the emulation is not the cause of weird effects. I just want to be able to see it on actual hardware. Alright, so what is actually my favorite SMB3 Game Genie code? Oh, it's USA USA. This code has a variety of effects that make this game go crazy. Here, I'll just let you take a look at it for a second. I guess you probably noticed the palette is a little off. Here on 1-1, you're going to see some crazy things. Of course, the palette being way off, but also, after those first couple enemies, these enemies, for some reason, want to spawn by triple. And then these Goombas over here, even more. You know, the 3, 4, 5 even. I think it's just filling the buffer for however many enemy slots there are, and then ta-da, there it is. This is not the only thing, and watch my poor job of trying to get actual, you know, one-ups here. Now, one of the test playthroughs I didn't record, actually, for some reason, I hit enough of them at the same time that it did full one-up sound, and if you've never heard that, well, I'm sorry, but it's a really great sound. Now, I played through this, and there's a couple of other things that make this really great. So, of course, we have all of that right there, but as well, we have some other effects that just are bizarre. For one, these enemies will never despawn. Anytime you kill them, it doesn't matter, you can always go back and you can find them again. They'll be right there again. That's how I got hit. Things happen there. You know. And so, yeah, these guys too, if you leave and come back, they'll always be there. Even if you kill them all, even, they will always be there. As long as there's one left to respawn, they will completely respawn. One of the other things you're going to notice is that whenever you try to break a brick, it instead spawns a fire flower. And it's any brick that is actually a brick that's supposed to break, it'll start spawning those fire flowers instead of breaking. Doesn't matter, they're always going to pop in. So, yeah, and otherwise they turn into coins and you can grab them. But basically you get a free fire flower no matter what. Alright, so above and beyond that, there are a couple other quirks that do happen here. Because there are some levels that cannot be completed without blocks, you're not going to be able to get through them. Here's such an example on just 1-3 that makes things difficult. Yeah, don't do that, because then you get into this. Got 4 of those guys there, and boom. Eventually, you do overflow the game. There's definitely other fun to be had with this block trick, though. Kinda like this. Can you imagine other places where you can use a P-switch and do things like this? Now, the castle area is very dark and foreboding, and it has a lot of potaboos coming out of that, the lava there. Yeah, it's pretty scary, actually, but, in reality, I mean, it's not so bad. it's just jumping over the multiple copies of the same one, really. They are starting to jump at different times, which is really weird. It kind of gives me an indicator that maybe they are on separate timers and it's randomized a little bit, so that's cool. The big thing here is getting this particular flute, this warp whistle, if you will. That particular one, because of this code, will spawn 2. So hey, that gives you no need to go to level 3 at all. One of the other fun little aspects here is, now that we're in this level, if you run fast enough, none of these Buzzy Beetles will appear because the other ones fill the spot. Coin Heaven doesn't exist. It freezes the game. Yep, constantly freezes the game. This is completely dark. Everything went dark. And then, of course, you can't beat the game because, well, I do still have that Japanese copy of Super Mario Bros. 3. Let's go ahead and put that in there and see if it works. So in the Japanese version, we're going to use the USA because I can't put JPN. But more seriously, the colors do not get washed out like they did in the US version or the North American version. And so some of the other things that don't happen either, the fire flower doesn't appear whenever you break a brick, it just breaks the brick. And so this is kind of looking sad for the most part, except you'll notice that the enemies still multiply. So that is a wonderful thing. This game does still allow the multiple enemies just multiplying and popping in and everything. Now, if we jump back into it, we'll also notice that 1-5, again, does freeze up whenever you try to get a Coin Heaven, and 8-1 does freeze when you try to go into it. So, our thoughts on getting a messed up world where we see the end of the game, not quite there, unfortunately. But wait, I have a Game Genie. I can do anything I want. Just get past 8-1, and then see if we can get all the way to the end of the game that way. Let me see what I can find. So after a bunch of digging on the internet, I have finally found this wonderful code from 16 years ago that allows us to walk on a mini map square. So I'm just gonna skip over 8-1 completely and see where it takes us, see if we're allowed to even go into Final Castle. Alright, so this definitely seems to be working as far as the code goes. And so I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna have a little fun, and yeah, I'm gonna take up a Hammer Bro first. Something I did figure out here though is if you're small, bricks still don't break, but you also don't get a fire flower. It's kind of interesting. Alright, so I did that test without putting in the USA code, and so I'm going to go ahead and put that in now, and that is also why I didn't get the fire flower when I hit the blocks. I made a mistake. Anyway, here we are, Dark World, all over again, and I'm gonna just skip around and skip through to some other things that I did in 8-1. So what I'm really trying to do here is see what the ending looks like whenever you finally beat the game, and you're like, wait a minute, why are all these color palettes goofy? And so that's what I'm setting out to do here, just running through 8-1 as much as possible, and not even entertaining going into any of the levels. Actually, I keep saying, but World 8 is what I'm really trying to say. Trying to get into those levels and just jump into that last level and see if it even lets me in, and if it does, definitely just play it and see what happens. So, yeah, and enjoy this wonderful time. You'll notice how dark and foreboding this castle really is now, because it's all black and white instead of having those red brick textures that kind of looked a little more warm and inviting, comparatively. But then again, we're having a lot of black and white. It's almost like I'm playing Super Mario Bros., but then there's like CGA graphics going on. And I only have like the 16 color palette, and it's picking the wrong 4 colors every single time. Anyway, 8-bit game, so I mean... But, yeah, this is supposed to be far better than those CGA graphics. I can't even see the door, so I kind of lucked out as to where it was. And, yeah, so I'm just gonna fly through the whole thing, E-Wing style, because why not? These fireballs surprise me. There's some that are going at an angle, and they're disappearing. It's really crazy. But, hey, the final boss fight, I mean, nothing quite like an almost non-existent Bowser. Craziness. I'm actually kind of glad when he hits me, because, yeah, the P-Wing sound is only good for so long. Anyway, as you can see, Bowser is affected, all the colors are drawn out, it's just a really crazy time. And I do actually beat this boss, I don't let him kill me, don't worry. Do eventually get there. The crazy jumping of those fireballs is just insane. I'm pretty convinced that he's shooting more than one at a time, because they're just all coming out of his mouth at the same time. They're not going a bunch of different crazy directions, because they're supposed to be a certain way for him. But yeah, it's definitely something to behold. So the green and white on him looks really, actually badass to me, but the black contrasting with the black background, not so cool. I'd really like to get the sprite sheet where he has colored that, so I could just like use it on like an orange background, or maybe recolor the black background to orange. But I think the palette would, if I did that, would actually switch him to be orange as well. But you know, all right. This room is totally messed up. And here comes the ending. You guys are going to be really surprised about the ending. It's going to be a beautiful thing. So the curtain comes down. And surprise, nothing has changed. It's normal palette colors. Don't know what's going on here, but it only made a dark world for the endgame. This is all just separate. The only thing I can think of is it's just a picture instead of actual sprites and assets to the game. Hey, look, Japan. But yeah. It's the only thing I can think of is this is actually just the one big picture that they just put up there instead of having individual sprites, and they like pre-rendered the whole thing so that it looked good. I mean, obviously the map screen is not just like they zoomed out or something. They literally had to redraw all those, so those are all probably all redrawn with the right colors, just because. Except that one has green in it. I don't think it always had green in it. It might, though. At least for the mushrooms. Anyway, that's all we got there. And thank you guys for watching. And, you know, I hope you guys like and comment and subscribe. And, hey, you know what? Hit me up on that Patreon. I got some new cover art for some of these videos out there right now. You can take a look at the full-size cover art, and or like scene separation art that I've done on some of the reviews. So that's pretty cool. It is for paid members only. So yeah, if you guys want to see extra content, I am starting to build it up in Patreon a little bit, and please consider going over there, like, subscribing, joining my Patreon. Thank you guys Stay up, stay safe. Game on.